This is an excerpt from my course on writing killer requirements. Check out my website for the full course. I want to talk about the role of the BA in writing requirements. Everybody thinks that's all we do is write requirements. Now, it is a big part of what we do, and if we do it well, if we kick ass when we do it, then we can spend time doing some of the other stuff that we do as BAs. So it's crucial. Our role is crucial in any company that we're at. We're incredibly important, especially in this requirements gathering process. And we need to learn how to appreciate all of the perspectives that are around us, stakeholders, peers, managers. We need to appreciate everyone's opinion. So I'm going to start talking with this little example here that you've built a mobile app for a new restaurant, and you gathered requirements and you were stoked. You got browsing menus, placing orders, tracking deliveries. You got all the things, right? You just were stoked. And the project was completed on time and under budget. So yeah, you did a good job and you were happy. However, you're missing some stuff. So upon launch, users were like, hey, I can't reorder my favorite meals, or I can't filter by vegetarian, or I can't put a note when I check out to say that I want you to double bag it, or whatever they may do. So you've missed some requirements. Then what happens now is a chain reaction of badness, right? When you miss requirements like that and you completely miss the mark on what your customers need. So the first is, you're going to have some unhappy users. Then you're going to have lost revenue because the users are no longer going to want to utilize this product, and it's going to take a lot to get them to come back. You're going to have some stakeholders that are not so happy with you because you didn't ask the right questions to get the right answers as to what the users needed. So the stakeholders are going to be a little irritated, and they will probably blame you some. And then I think most importantly is that you damage your BA brand. And we've talked about BA brand in other classes, and that is essentially your brand. That is essentially what you bring to the table, how you present yourself, that you are someone who follows through, that you are someone that can be relied on. So missing big requirements like this can damage that brand. Project. Don't have missing ingredients, right? We're playing on the cake metaphor, right? So when you miss deadlines, there are project delays that cost money. We've talked before in other courses how you miss something for a stakeholder. That stakeholder has promised a billion other people. They promised their boss, they promised their customers, they promised a whole bunch of people about this feature. And if you miss it, then that's going to cause this chain reaction of delays. Our position is very important. You're going to have frustrated stakeholders and team members. They're going to be wondering, can this person actually deliver? Can this person actually do what they say they're going to do? It could actually decrease morale on the team because you're going to get really pounded by leadership because you haven't done a good job on this project. The resources that are wasted. I mean, you got to think just even the rework that has to be done. If you miss requirements, then you're going to have to write those requirements, give them over to dev. They're going to have to figure out how to implement. They may not have accommodated for these requirements in their coding. So they're going to have to do other things to accommodate to, if you want to be able to sort by vegetarian meals, well, they didn't even think of doing something like that because you didn't tell them to. So now they're going to have to build this whole other thing. So a lot of wasted resources and rework. And then, of course, there's scope creep and feature bloat. When the deadlines become really tight, there is kind of this pressure to just kind of add other things in because stakeholders think, oh, this is just a really quick thing. Just go ahead and throw that in when it's not really a quick thing. And then feature bloat. Oh, I didn't click the thing. I'm sorry. And then feature bloat is when features that are unnecessary are being added, right? So there's a sales guy that promised this one guy this one thing, and he needs to add it, and it doesn't benefit all of our customers, just this one guy. It doesn't align with what all of our users need, nor does it align with the company goals and objectives. That is what feature bloat is. And then when you miss these ingredients, you're going to have reduced project quality and user satisfaction. And you know the statistics. And if you don't, look them up. Once you lose a customer, it is virtually impossible to get that customer to come back to you. So we like to talk about ourselves as being a BA detective, which doesn't really make sense to me because detectives solve crimes after they happen, but we are going to solve crimes before they happen to prevent issues. So part of what we do is we gather information. Now, gathering information when you write requirements can mean a lot of things. You can have meetings, JAD sessions. You can do brainstorming sessions. You can meet one-on-one with stakeholders. Send out a survey and say, what do you think your top 5 customer complaints are? And then, of course, doing data analysis. If you've got someone that you work with that is a BI reporter, someone that does business intelligence reporting, be their BFF, be their best friend. You can go with them and sit down with them and say, okay, where are the problem areas? And they are going to know. Uncover the hidden needs that people have. So when you're talking with stakeholders, they're going to say, I need you to build this thing. And you need to ask the questions like, okay, so if I build this thing, what happens with this? Or what happens if the users do this? Or what happens for this group of users? So you have to start really asking those hard questions because stakeholders, that's not how they think. They think, okay, I need this thing in order to do a better job, be better, stronger, faster, in order to make my customers happy. But they don't think about the consequences of workflow. That's your job. Collaborating with diverse stakeholders. So these people are like business users, subject matter experts, end users, and I will forever say support, support, support. If you have a support team, even if it's offshore, utilize them as a resource because they know the pain points that your customers go through. They're dealing with it on a daily basis. They know better than anybody. So utilize your support resources. And then being able to prioritize and translate the needs. So again, we've talked before about bridging the gap between what the stakeholder wants and what tech can actually deliver. This is just a comic that I absolutely adore because it's perfect. It's perfect. The first pane talks about how the customer explained what they wanted, and then the second one is how the product person understood it. And then when they told you, you wrote the requirements a certain kind of way, and then you give the requirements to dev, and they wrote something certain kind of way. And then my favorite is how sales described it because it's always like, oh. How the project was documented, what was installed, how the customer was billed, how the product was supported, and then what the customer actually needed. And that's what we need to get to first, right? We need to streamline and get to what the customer actually needs first before we do all that other work. So we need to make sure that when we're building requirements that these are fact-based requirements, okay? You want to avoid bias from your stakeholders. Every stakeholder has bias, right? They'll tell you, I just have a gut feeling this is what we need to do, or I just kind of think this is what I've seen other companies do this is what we need to do. You need to base your decision on facts. Okay, so you've given me this thing. You want me to build this thing. How many customers does it affect? How much time is it going to take to develop? Is the return on investment going to be worth it? There are things that you have to think about when you prioritize your features. You want to utilize accuracy. You want to make sure that your requirements are based on data, not a gut feeling. Now, you're going to have gut feelings about things. You're going to say, I have a feeling this isn't going to work. I have a feeling that their customers are going to get lost here, or they're not going to see this button, or they're going to get lost in this workflow, whatever. You can have that feeling, but try to base everything on fact. And when you have those fact and you have those data points, when someone comes to you and says, why did you prioritize this feature over this feature, you can say, here's the data that supports why I did that. So always have data to back up your decisions. Now, you're not going to have data to back up every decision, but do your best. Define requirements with clear metrics for success. That one probably gets left out a lot. Basically, everyone is always just go, 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 go. And the metric for success is, did it get launched, right? So if you say, okay, if it gets success and we have, adoption rate of 50%, then that's a success. But really measurability is one that gets put on the back burner, at least in my experience. So I would say just make sure that you avoid the bias from stakeholders and base your opinion on fact. Oh, and I'm also going to talk about knee-jerk reactions here. Don't knee-jerk react to things. And that is hard to do. When you have someone coming to you, breathing down your throat, saying we have to build this or else we're going to lose all of our customers and lose $1 billion, you're going to knee jerk and be like, okay, I will build it. And you will start working and you will get dev on it and you will start doing the stuff and things. But really, you need to stop and go, is that really the case? Or do you have misinformation? Or are you a drama king or what? So just make sure you don't do knee jerk reactions. Take a breath just for a tick. Just take a breath, stop and say, okay, let me investigate that real quick and I'll get back to you within an hour or whatever, right? Do your due diligence. So once you have all of this non-biased data, my suggestion would be if you want to start messing around with AI, do it. One thing that I have utilized AI for is gathering, like we did user testing, right? We did, now I can't think of the word, of course, but when you sit with the user and watch them use your tool, and we get all this data, you feed it into something like ChatGPT or Copilot or any of the other ones that are out there, and it can come back to you with themes. Now utilizing AI. First of all, let's just be clear that it's not going to replace you. It's not going to replace a BA. So let's just make that perfectly clear, because we have critical thinking, we can analyze, and you have to ask AI very pointed and specific questions to get the answers that you want. If you ask it a generic question, you're going to get a generic answer. So sometimes you have to tweak your questions that you ask in order to really start getting the data that you need. I would suggest what I do is I actually keep a separate ChatGPT spreadsheet for whatever project that I'm working on. And I write down the codes that work, the prompts that work. So that way I can copy and paste them and reuse them and refine them. So that is one way to parse all of the data that you're going to get from gathering these requirements. Very helpful in finding themes and very helpful in prioritization. So let's talk just a little bit about what this lesson was about. So we talked about how critical BAs are. You can't really build software without us. Now, people try, and they do, but you can tell that there was no thought behind it, that there wasn't someone back there asking the hard questions. Also, the importance of getting the different perspectives from stakeholders, especially support. Ask your peers, ask stakeholders, ask people who aren't involved in the project that maybe were in your place a year ago, right? Get as much data and input as you can as you start gathering up these requirements. And then again, make sure that you base things on fact, not gut feeling. I have a feeling this isn't going to work. Well, if you can find some data to support that, awesome. And again, having those facts is going to come in handy when people come to you and say, why did you prioritize this over this? You could say, oh, well, here's the data. This is why I did it. Make sure that your decisions are data-based.